Hi everyone, this is Nathan from Snap and welcome to another of our Snap XMP webinars. This is the first of 3 webinars in our mini-series titled Group Questionnaires and 360 Surveys. In this first session, we will look at the design aspect of a group questionnaire, which enables a series of similar questionnaires to be distributed to a participant using a single survey link invitation. The case use being demonstrated today will be a college or university evaluation, where students are required to evaluate the different courses or modules throughout the year. A single link is sent to a student, which takes them off to their personalised evaluation page, allowing the participant to come back to their page whenever they like. In part 2, which is next week, we will look at the analysis side of the group questionnaire, and then in part 3 in April, we'll be focusing on using similar functionality to produce a 360 survey. There are 3 main elements to today. We'll look at the setup of the questionnaire itself, how the participants or how the spreadsheet of participants is built, and then finally how these participants are invited to take part in the feedback program. A few key benefits to building a group questionnaire. Firstly, we're dealing with one single survey file, which basically means that there's less work to do. If you need to amend the text of a question or some formatting, then you're just making that change once rather than having to repeat that change in multiple individual survey files. It's also one link for the participant to use, so they're not having to access multiple emails and multiple links to complete the project. Your participants get directed to their own personalised landing page, which details the different questionnaires that they need to complete. And this landing page has details of which questionnaires have already been completed, which ones have been partially submitted, and which ones are still waiting to be started. And as it is just one single survey file, all your data is contained in one location. And this allows for reporting across the different questionnaires, which when used alongside smart reporting, means that you can compare and benchmark your data. Some example uses for group questionnaires would be training programs where employees are asked to evaluate different courses they've been on. Product testing, where a participant is asked to complete a questionnaire about a product at various intervals throughout the testing process, or perhaps complete a questionnaire for each of the different products that they're testing. Our example today will be taking the scenario of a college or university with students being asked to complete questionnaires for the different courses or modules that they've taken throughout the year. And then another use of this functionality would be a 360 survey. And this is used in organisations to allow their employees to give feedback on the individual, as in give feedback on themselves, but also on their peers, their superiors, and also their subordinates. And that's the example that we're going to be looking at in our webinar in April. So moving on to today's example, which is the university wanting to collect reviews of the different modules and courses. There are a number of things that we need for this to work. Starting off, we need some information about who's going to be asked to complete these evaluations and also which courses and modules those people took. For those of you who might already be familiar with the participants feature in Snap XMP, you notice that the structure of this spreadsheet is a little bit different to normal, as rather than each potential participant occupying one row of the spreadsheet, here you can see that each participant appears multiple times, so once for each course or module that they attended. In the design of the questionnaire, it's good to make use of seeding and text substitution, and this helps the respondent to understand exactly which course and tutor it is that they're responding about, and is also used at the analysis stage. And any data contained on your spreadsheet can be used at the analysis stage, regardless of whether it's actually displayed to the respondent or not. We also need to use the survey index option, which is a power data variable. This is used to form the personalised landing page for the participant, which, as you can see, will create a separate line and link for each of the courses or modules that need to be taken. And then finally, we need to write an invitation email that will be sent out. Okay, let's head into the software and take a look at the setup. So I'm going to start off by showing you what the actual student will see. So I'm going to start off by opening up an email that would have been received. So I'm going to sort of, as I said, work my way backwards. So the end result is the student will receive an email. Double click on that email. You can see there's some invitational text asking me to complete some modules. And the invitational text makes reference to the fact that we can use this link over and over again to fill out the different sort of feedback forms. If I click on the link, you can see it takes me to my personalised landing page, which details which module evaluations I need to take part in, and also the current status. Now, at the moment, obviously, you can see that all of these are not started. So I'm going to fly through and just fill out a couple of questions. You can see it's making reference to which particular course it is that we're referring to. So I'm just going to go through and give some replies here. Don't worry too much about which responses I'm choosing today. Again, you can see it's making reference to the course, but this time also to the tutor who was running that course. Again, I'm just going to fly through. And when I press submit at the end, it will take me back to my personalized landing page, but you can see this time the link has disappeared because I've actually completed that one. Now I will start one more, and I'm going to get sort of part way through, and then I'm going to close that one down. Let's move on to the next page. If I was to close that page down and head back to my original invitation, I'll click back on the original link, and you can see this time the corporate finance course has been partially started. So again, if I was to click on the link, it takes me back to where I left. So that's the process in action. Let's take a look at the design of the survey in Snap Desktop. So I'm going to be using the All Good University survey, which is in my webinars folder of one of my sort of dummy accounts today. As with the majority of surveys in Snap, we've got the different additions at the bottom, ensuring that it's optimized for the variety of different device shapes and sizes. And for example, in my survey today, I've set up for all of these grid questions to appear as carousels on the phone version of the survey. They're set up to appear as carousels, as we saw a few moments ago in my example. So each of the questions are carousels on the phone edition, but for the PC and tablet versions, I've decided to only do that for the initial module section, which has got my longer statements in. But actually for the rest of my smaller statements, I've just left them as standard grid questions. Okay, so again, slightly different layouts for my different devices. Within the module section, this first sort of area, I've also added some questions which are specific to the different courses. So you can see I've made it really obvious what we're doing here today. So this is only for the financial risk management course. This one's only for the corporate finance course. And they are routed based on some hidden questions. So if I go into the routing for that particular question, you can see that's going to pop up on the condition that module equals number 1, whilst this one will be on the condition that module equals 2. And that's based on some hidden questions at the top of my page, which we'll talk about in more detail later. But yes, module number 1 is the financial risk, number 2, number 3, etc. So although these surveys are very similar, at the same time, they are potentially quite different as well. I'll just hide those ones again. And I've made reference to those hidden questions throughout the survey. So you can see I've got the word module there. I've got the tutor and the module. So that's making use of those hidden seeded questions just by making use of the insert button. And we've inserted a variable field. And I've taken the data from those seeded questions at the top of the survey. So these seeded questions at the top, they're useful for the person filling in the survey just to remind them what it is they're actually responding to. And as you'll see in next week's webinar, they also form an important part of our analysis, allowing us to compare results across the different modules, tutors and department. Now, what makes this survey different to a sort of a standard survey, if you like, is the fact that I've got this extra line here which is making use of something called survey index or id.survey index. And this is used to build that introduction page. So the list, this line gets repeated multiple times for as many different courses that I've taken. And this is activated by going into questionnaire properties. And one of the Power Data options in there is survey index, and it's simply a case of just displaying this in the questionnaire, and that's what basically produces this line here. I've added some additional text. You can see there's some sort of dynamic fields in there which will be seeded with the name of the course that I'm completing or the evaluation course that I'm doing, and also the status being whether it's started, partially completed or completed or not started. But I've added some additional text just to make it appear as I want it to. And I've also added some text at the beginning and also my logo just to brand it all up. So everything which is highlighted now will form the landing page. And as I said, that last line, this one here, is the line which will be repeated for each of the particular assessments that we need to complete. So in terms of questionnaire design, it's a fairly standard survey with some hidden questions at the top ready for seeding and analysis. And then we've got the additional survey index turned on to create that personalised landing page. I'm now going to head into Snap Online and we'll look at how the participants are going to be uploaded along with the invitations. So I've got my same survey here, the All Good University survey. And looking at the overview window, we can see that I've got 15 participants uploaded. You can also see that I have got one response and one partial, which is the one I did just a few moments ago for you. But before we go and look at how we upload those participants, I'm going to take you through and have a look at the spreadsheet, which we're going to be making use of today. So we have the different column headers across the top. And these match up with the names of those hidden questions at the top of my survey. At the moment, my spreadsheet is sorted on the module column. And you can see if I scroll down, we've actually got 106 different rows in this spreadsheet. But as we saw earlier, we've only actually got 15 participants. And this is where a database for a group questionnaire differs from that of a database used for a standard survey. So we've actually got separate rows for each of the courses that any one person responded to or basically took. If I quickly sort spreadsheet based on the email column, you can see that A White appears 6 times. So they took 6 different courses. E Samuels took 2 different courses, so they appear twice. And if I was to come down and find myself on this spreadsheet, I've actually taken 9 different courses. Most of those were on the sort of from the business department, but it looks like I also took a couple of accountancy courses as well. While I'm here looking at the spreadsheet, you can also see that I've assigned an ID next to each of my individual participants. And it's worth pointing out that this needs to be unique, and often people will try and use their email addresses as a unique ID. Personally, I prefer to use an actual ID, because there's always a chance that an email address may well change throughout the year, or you may well have got some typos in there, so you might need to sort of be editing them as time goes on. So yeah, best generally to sort of work on a separate column for the ID. Okay, just going to pop it back into my original order. And then I'm going to close that spreadsheet down. Just notice that I'm working on the students worksheet, and close that one down. And I'm going to pop back into the participants within Snap Online. So participants are accessed via the Collect tab. And then we have the Participants tab down on the left-hand side. So there's a number of different options available in here, which whilst I'm here, it might be worth sort of pointing out. Under the Overview tab, we've got some information which, as the survey progresses, will be quite useful, sort of the percentage of people that have been filling in the survey, how many emails might have bounced back, etc. Now, just bear in mind, there are quite a few bounce backs today, but that's because most of these email addresses don't actually exist. Rather than bombarding random people with emails, I've made up some email addresses in there. But under here, we have interview access. So you've got the option here to make your surveys anonymous. Now that's not going to work today because we're actually seeding the students' names into the survey. And you've also got the option to sort of specify that the links will sort of deactivate after so many days. Now again, probably not going to be suitable for a group questionnaire because it's quite likely that this is going to run throughout the year. So probably not going to use anything in there. Under change interview settings, this is a useful way to mask where your emails are coming from. So the emails will look like, if I go back into my email, they look like they've come from the All Good University team. Heading into the participant list, I've got my list of 15 participants that I'd previously uploaded. I will run through how I did that by attempting to re-upload again. I'm going to choose update this time, but I'm actually going to point off to exactly the same spreadsheet and nothing's changed. So although I've selected update, Snap Online will realize that actually there's no changes to be made. So yeah, nothing will happen. There's no new people on the spreadsheet, so my list will remain the same. So worksheet number 1, I'm going to point off to my spreadsheet on my desktop. There's my desktop spreadsheet. We're going to be sending email invitations, and from my spreadsheet I have a column called email, so we're going to be grabbing everyone's email address from there. We're going to seed, so personalize the invitation, so I can say dear John, dear Bob, etc. And Snap will be identifying who people are based on that ID column. We're going to seed the survey, so take the data from the spreadsheet, the names of the tutors, the names of the courses, etc., and seed that into the survey so we can use it for text substitution, and I said probably more importantly, use it ready for the analysis. And then today, the difference being that this is a group questionnaire, so we will tick the group questionnaire box, and the group questionnaire allows us to make use of the subject field, and this is the line which will be repeated in that landing page. So for the 9 different modules that I personally took, I will be making use of the module column that will specify that the landing page needs 9 separate lines. For the email invitation, I'm going to be making use of a column in my spreadsheet called name, just so I can say dear Nathan. And then for the survey itself, I'm going to be seeding the name of the student in there, the modules that they took, who their tutor was, which department it was. And just notice that these are tick box questions, these last 3, so they have this additional map option, whilst the one at the top was an open-ended question. So there's no map option there. But under map, we can just double check that the names on my spreadsheet match with the different codes in the survey. So If you have got any slight differences between the names in one, then you might have to do some manual mixing and matching. Okay, that's all fine. This is just a confirmation page, and you can see it's confirming that it's a group questionnaire, and then I will upload. Now, as I said, because my spreadsheet is exactly the same, actually nothing will change here, including the fact that it's recognised that I've already started my survey. Now, on the spreadsheet, there were multiple rows per student. So as I said, I appeared 9 times in total. And if I open up myself on this list, we've got some information about when the emails were sent out to people. And you can see on the right hand side, I've got one of the courses that I went on, or one of the modules. I've got my seeded data here, but you can see I can actually scroll through this list. I've got the computer applications for business, etc., etc. We have also got the options to make some adjustments here. So if I needed to make some corrections for the seeding, I have got the option to edit the subject, and I can make some adjustments here. Equally, if I needed to add a new course, so if throughout the year I've suddenly taken a new course, you can add a course from here as well. Now, realistically, you could make individual adjustments here, but you just need to bear in mind 2 things. One, it would be quite long-winded because you're having to go into each of these and add courses manually one at a time. But also the danger is that this does not update your spreadsheet in the background. So over a period of time, your spreadsheet could be quite out of date. So you'd be better off making those changes to the spreadsheet itself and then doing a upload like I did a few moments ago. To kind of refresh the people on the spreadsheet. Okay, now today I have basically uploaded a spreadsheet with every single course that each of my people have been on. It may well be that rather than uploading all the courses in one go, you actually decide that you're going to upload them throughout the year. So as a course gets taken, you add the person to the list and add their details onto here. So it'd just be a case of going back to your original spreadsheet, adding additional lines or additional rows of data for your different students, and then doing an upload. Let's take a quick look at the invitation email that's going to be sent out. Just working its way through doing some uploads. So if I just pause the mailing at the moment, that will give me the option to make some edits. So this is the initial invitation that's going to be sent out. So you can see I've got some seeded data in there. So it's making use of the insert tag to basically insert some seeded data for my spreadsheet. I've got obviously a general introduction, and as I said, it's making note that the link can be used as often as you want to go back and sort of carry on and complete surveys which you may have started previously. And then the actual link for the survey, that's been inserted again using the insert tag, and it's making use of the survey link auto. It's worth noting there's a survey link in there. If you did survey link, it would make the student go off and input their username to kind of go any further. So probably much better to do the survey link auto. What that will do is it means that each individual person will receive their own unique link, and that will be actually logging them into the project in the background and obviously taking them to their unique landing page. Now you notice that the survey link auto appears like survey link auto whilst I've done module evaluation survey. So I've just taken that link and made it slightly nicer by using the hyperlink and just putting my preferred text in there. But I will delete that out today. It's also, just whilst we're here, worth noting that your logo does need to be a hosted image, meaning that it appears online somewhere. So it needs to be basically a link that's pointing off to a web page or an image on a web page somewhere. Now, in my example, I go into my image. I've actually just grabbed a copy of the image from the live survey. So I've gone into the survey and just right-clicked and copied that image link and then just pasted it into the web address. Remember, do make use of the hover text, the alt text, which is an important accessibility option. Okay, I'll just cancel out of that. So that's going to go on day 0. We can then have reminder emails. So I've got a reminder email going out 7 days later. Ultimately, up to you how many reminders you set. You might set them to go maybe once a month, so every 30 days. So it might be your first reminder set after 30, and then the second reminder is 30 as well. So basically, it will always be the number of days from the previous message that was sent out. Okay, so we've seen the whole process from the participants' point of view. We've seen how the survey's set up. And that's everything done. So we've created a questionnaire which makes use of seeded questions and text substitution. We've turned it into a group questionnaire by activating the survey index power data option. That's the one which created the additional line for each of my modules. We've uploaded a list of participants which was set up with 1 line per course taken. And we created a nice invitation that could be sent out with a reminder to follow. So hopefully that's given you a good overview of what a group questionnaire is and how it functions. Obviously my example today was based around a university or college, but the principle would be exactly the same if you required a participant to answer multiple questionnaires during product testing programs, or if you are running training courses within your organisation. And then, as mentioned, in April, we're going to be using a similar sort of setup to look at 360 surveys. On screen now are a few QR codes which will take you off to our support hub pages on group questionnaires, with the middle QR code going over how to create that landing page that we looked at for your participants. If you have got a spare 2 minutes, I'd be grateful if you would complete our short survey, which you can find by accessing the QR code on the right. Thank you for joining me, and we'll hopefully see you next week for the analysis side.